Hey guys, Edgar here, Guns for Everyone. Today I want to continue the video series of how to choose a gun. I know a lot of that stuff exists. Primarily why we're making this series or why I'm making this series is I see this in classes. People ask the questions and then other people try and answer or when I ask, why did you choose that gun? A lot of people will tell me the two main things. Very first one is it was comfortable and it felt good. Those two things. And then when I ask, awesome, what does comfort or feeling mean? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Usually, what they tell me is stuff like, well, I just made sure that I can grip it. Like, that's great, but like, what does that mean? I can grip an AR-15. Doesn't mean it makes a good handgun. Just because you can grip something doesn't make it great. So that conversation starts in classes. It's a relatively um, annoying exercise that I do. A lot of people kind of get frustrated when I do this exercise in class because it's that me asking them, what does that mean? Oh, I just went to the range and made sure it felt right. Cool. What does that mean? And then what you will see is that students actually can't define what I'm asking them. And that's frustrating, right? Because you thought you were making an educated decision, and here's some asshole trying to question your decision, and it's not really questioning that decision, is really more so just challenging. I want you to be better. I want you to make an educated guess, an educated decision. I'm sorry, not just because of feelings or whatever. This tool is going to save your life. It's not me trying to be an asshole. It's I don't want you to die. I want you to have the proper tool in your hand when you're shooting, and feelings and emotions unfortunately are not part of that process. And if they are, it's way down below. It's like the very last thing we look at is emotions. And 'cause I get it, we're in the US and we have a ton of options, but emotions and feelings and bias should kind of be set aside, and we should look at this tool for what it is. So I've got two videos. One of them talking about the size of the gun. A lot of people say I want a really small gun, so I talk about the one of the issues with having a small gun, and that's carrying it. Smaller guns is usually more painful and they print more. Go check that video out. And then we talk about the fit, how the things that you should look at when you're fitting a gun in your hand. Today, I want to talk about a kind of a cliche-ish topic that a lot of people don't know how to talk about. Unfortunately, there's a dummy that is very popular on the internet. You guys can go find her. If you guys go look at bore access on a firearm, you'll see a very popular YouTuber who talks about this and very ignorantly, very dumb, doesn't understand the physics beside it. When some of you guys will be like, well, what the fuck makes you the authority? I'm not. I'm actually not the authority on physics. Physics is something that for me is probably more of a hobby more than anything else. I'm a hobbyist physicist. You can ask my wife since I was a young thug. Albert Einstein has been a hero of mine. If you guys Google my last name, I'll put it up here on the screen. If you guys Google that last name that just popped up on the screen and add physics to it, you will see my family's contribution to physics. Family that I have that are physicists, and these are people I talk to and throw ideas at. I like to talk to the people who are smarter than me and ask them questions. I'm not an exception for Dunning Kruger. So, like, I want to make sure I'm not stuck on the Dunning Kruger shit, right? So, most gun owners are stuck on that. Most humans get stuck on the Dunning Kruger. So, when you talk about like what makes me the authority on physics and all this stuff, well, one, I went to high school and I passed it. Also, I really like physics and I've been into physics for a very long time. This is something that a lot of humans don't know about me. Physics is kind of one of my passions, I guess, if you will. I do it more hobby wise than anything else. But in my downtime, I fucking love learning about physics. That's what I do for fun. Is I love to learn about physics. But you're right. I'm not necessarily the authority. Go check this out. The physics already exists. Go learn from other physics people that are not gun people. Physics. This is what it's all about. So, anyways, I want to talk about the bore axis. I do want to talk about the bore axis. When you buy a firearm, one of the things I'm going to throw up this video up on the screen because it's already there. It's one of the videos that I want to talk about, anyways. If you don't follow Smarter Every Day, you don't have to, but it's a really fun channel, Smarter Every Day. But if you guys look at this shit, where that barrel is at, the center of that barrel, boom, is higher than where his wrist would be. that create the wrist is going to be a pivot point, right? So if I am shooting my pew pew, if I have my pew pew and it's higher than my wrist, it's going to rotate more. This is where we get a lot of that angular momentum. Momentum is a vector. What that means is that it's a linear thing. It's a straight thing, and it's both positive and negative. To the right, it's positive. To the left, it's negative. We can see that illustrated. Let me get out of this. And then we can see that illustrated in these images right here, right? So the stuff that goes off to the right, that is positive momentum. And then the stuff that comes towards you, that is the negative momentum. So it is creating momentum. It's a vector, though. It's not like kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is a scalar. It can increase, it could go down. Momentum is a vector. It's a linear thing. So we have to understand that when we're shooting firearms, that energy is coming out through that barrel. The explosion is happening above our wrist. So that creates rotation. Why does that matter? Well, this matters because, well, if I have, let me see if I have, I thought I had it up. If we go to Gun Hero, or is it Hero? If we have two guns, I'm going to choose the gun that I carry. The gun that I carry is the Avidity Arms PD-10. And then I'm going to go with a handgun that lately a lot of people have said that they carry, and that's the Springfield XD. We'll go with the Springfield XD, just a regular one, but a 4-inch. I want to make sure that I'm full size. Yeah, we'll do it this way. I want to compare them as evenly as I possibly can. This is a 4-inch barrel. This is a 4-inch barrel. Both of them are 4-inch barrels. If we look at these two firearms, the slide on the XD is a little bit higher. The Avidity Arms, the PD-10, that's a lower one. This one is just shy of 1.5 inches. Now, admittedly, that includes the sights, but so that's the same thing on the Avidity. So it take that into account, right? This one is a little shy of 1 inch. I'm not going to sit here and say exact measurements, but we could all see how the Springfield XD is a little bit higher. What does that mean? Well, you can get the XD, and then the XD might feel good in your hand. To a certain degree, might even fit good in your hand, based off of the video that we talked about in a previous episode. Go check that shit out. But if the muzzle is higher, right? If we have a muzzle that is higher up here, then the pivot point, which is your wrist is the one that does that motion, right? The hand, it's attached to the wrist, so it's doing this shit right here. If this was solid, say you had it in the cast, your hand all by itself, there's no pivot point here. The fingers have pivot points, but the hand itself doesn't. So the wrist becomes that pivot point. So if this is higher than the wrist, you're going to feel that rotation a little bit more than you would with, say, the Avidity Arms, which is lower, closer to your wrist. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would have that muzzle, that barrel, in the same line as my wrist. But if you've ever shot a semi-auto, you would know that shit would suck. That slide would come back, or at least try to come back, and it would hurt. It would be painful. It would cut you up, be sore. You're not going to die. It's not the end of the world, but it's not going to be very pleasant. So it has to sit above, because that's just the way this handgun is engineered. Nobody's found that solution yet. So with this firearm, that momentum, right? Remember, it's momentum. That's what the fuck is going on here. That positive momentum is going out of the barrel, but because of the third law of motion, let's Google that shit really quick. Third law of motion. Ta-da, there we go. The third law of motion is, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's the third law of motion. So in other words, all of the shit that goes out the barrel that way, all of that going that way, has to come back in this direction. That's physics. Cannot avoid that. So if we notice this firearm, When he shoots it, let's check the shit out. When he shoots this firearm, the recoil spring absorbs a lot of that energy, but it can't stop it all. It can't absorb it all. So you notice how his hand goes up. It rotates up. The video is about shooting bulletproof glass. So again, you will see that rotation up. Uh, the the spring collects that a little bit, absorbs it as best it can, but it goes up. Now, at the same time, if we see him shoot a Barrett 50 cal, because this is what a lot of people think, well, 45 is just going to create a bigger oomph, and it does. You're not wrong, right? Because there's a lot more pressure there. This 50 cal has more momentum, more power than the 9 millimeter. However, if we see him shoot the firearm, when we see him shoot this firearm, um, let's look at the slow mo version. I thought that was going to be the slow mo. There we go. If we see him shoot, all of that energy goes back towards his shoulder. That muzzle doesn't go up. That muzzle doesn't fucking elevate like the the 9 millimeter. It's not as drastic. It's not as violently going up. In fact, he's not even holding the front. All he's doing is holding on to the grip, and his shoulder is absorbing all of that energy. Really, all of that negative momentum. Remember, everything that comes from the front of the muzzle, that's the positive momentum. Everything to the right, ta-da, and everything over here is the negative momentum. So it's going straight back. And in fact, let me slow this bitch down even more. So you see how it goes to the rear even more, and it's not really an elevation of the muzzle. That momentum is a vector, it's a linear thing. It's not a up or down thing. It is a linear thing. That shit stays on the table. That shit doesn't go up. It doesn't do what the 9 millimeter does. I encourage you guys to go learn about momentum. This is a relatively decent series that this individual has, Trevor. I'm going to try and put it on the link down there, but try because of laziness, I'll forget. This guy is also pretty smart when it comes to the physics stuff. Encourage you guys to go check it out. Mitchell Van Bison, and then Trevor. He has. I'm not even going to pretend to say that one. It almost seems like Gonzalez, but that's just the Mexican in me. So learn about this stuff. Encourage you guys to learn from outside of the gun world, so you can apply it into the gun world. Because everything that applies in physics and rockets and throwing a rock and baseball and shit like that, this is physics. This shit works with or without guns, and then you can incorporate it into the guns. Be careful with listening to gun people that are trying to tell you shit about physics that's not true. Again, unfortunately, there's a really popular fucking YouTuber out there. I'm not even gonna mention his name because he's a dum dum. But if you go look for it, you'll find it. I don't know why people will listen to that shit. Luckily, in the comments, there's a lot of humans who call him out on the bullshit, which is what we have to do, right? That's how we keep each other better. Like these are the humans you ought to learn about. He looks like a fucking serial killer there, but he's fucking smart. Go learn about the momentum. This guy right here, him and his fucking bow tie. He needs to save some for the rest of us. This fucking guy. The physics of angular momentum. That's a really good topic to talk about or to learn about. Go learn from these people. Go learn from the physics people. Go learn from the neuroscience people. When you're thinking about choosing a gun based off of feelings and emotions, that's not a thing. Look at it from a scientific standpoint. Today we're talking about that bore axis, right? I want the barrel, the slide, as close as possible to my wrist, as close as possible to my wrist, so that that momentum is as close as possible to that pivot point. The closer it is to that pivot point, to this right here, the more it goes back instead of flipping up. The gun should be going back. It should not be going up. We can't prevent it because of where the positioning of the barrel is and the explosion and the momentum. We can't prevent it 100%, but we want to minimize it as best as we can. So hopefully this shit helped you out. I know I like to kind of just ramble on and say a lot of shit, but hopefully you found it informative, educational. Go learn from these humans over here, not just from me. I try and put the sciencey shit and the gun shit together and present it to you guys about this stuff. But I didn't invent science. I didn't invent physics. The universe fucking did that. Your Jesus, whoever it is you believe in, your Allah, your Buddha, whoever it is you believe in, that's what created all of this, and it was already there. So it's my responsibility to not listen to the dumb shit that says, oh, feelings and emotions, whatever you think is best. No, motherfucker, whatever physics and science has proven to be best. I hate to tell you this, but this is not about preference. We have to use the right tools for the right context. So be mindful about that. Go check out Isaac, Guns for Everyone Isaac, Guns for Everyone Isaac. He's on the YouTube. He's on Instagram. He's got other videos. Good legal stuff, good basic shit. I have some more sciencey videos that you guys ought to check out. We do videos together about laws. We talk to the attorneys and shit like that. Check out those other videos. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys learning with me and talking about this stuff. If you know more about the sciencey shit, you're actually a physicist or whatever, do the comments and all that stuff. Help make this community better and smarter, and not just go off of fucking feelings and rabbit foots and fucking crystals and your stupid fucking horoscopes and shit like that. Choosing a gun is much more complicated than just feelings and emotions. So I encourage you guys to go out there and learn about it so you can make an educated decision on